Arrowhead Studios make one of the most successful games, in my opinion, of the last few years, with hundreds of thousands of players playing weeks, even months after launch, and Sony hijack it as a means of forcing people to register on the PlayStation Network. This news has actually been going for a couple of days almost now, so we'll talk about just the headlines before I get into my thoughts. But the long story short is Sony are showing themselves to be real shitbags with this one. They changed their terms of service on games run through the PlayStation Network hours before this change came into effect, so no one had agreed to this, or very few people had agreed to this when they paid for their game. But now games require you to be on the PlayStation Network. The problem with this is only about 70 countries actually are able to access the PlayStation Network, and depending on precisely which ones you count, there are about 190 countries in the world right now, meaning over half the world don't have access to the game. If you've bought the game in those countries, boo-hoo for you as far as Sony are concerned. So before anyone gets smart in the comments, yes, Sony had said at the beginning that a PlayStation Network account was required. But that seems to be aimed very much at the PS5 guys, because those on Steam could do it without a PlayStation Network, which is why all these people in countries without PSN access were able to buy and play the game in the first place. If it's an oversight, then it's one Sony needs to let slip. They've taken money from gamers, and they've let them game long enough that the normal refund period doesn't apply anymore. This came to light when people were complaining on Arrowhead's forums and social media, where they were told by a community manager, if you don't like it, review bomb it. He said it with a bit of an attitude and later clarified, but that's their stance. So, unsurprisingly, Helldivers 2 is getting review bombed on Steam. And I've added my voice to this. Now, I really, really enjoy Helldivers 2, and I must admit, before I really looked into this, I was playing this game this very weekend. I genuinely think it is one of my favourite games of the last couple of years. I love the way that you are doing the same thing over and over again, but it feels different every single time. It doesn't feel formulaic like, say, Left 4 Dead or Vermintide or Darktide, where you know you're just running precisely the same content. It always feels a little different, and that idea of war and taking planets and things being in constant flux, I absolutely love it. Arrowhead's way of releasing stuff, so it's not just, oh, the patch is ready, so there you go. It's the patch is ready, now complete these objectives, now achieve these things in the war, and then we'll give you the stuff that you want. I really like that. It's an interesting spin on giving people access to new stuff. But this is really unfair, and Arrowhead, unfortunately, have no hand in this. They are, I don't want to use the word slaves, but that's what it is, to the PlayStation Network. So, that in mind, despite the fact that what I really want to do now is boot it up and play a couple of rounds with the people in the community like yourself, and if that's something you're interested in now with other games, the links in the Discord below, or to the Discord is in the file below, I've just requested a refund. And I know I'm unlikely to get it, because I have about 57 hours on my account so far. I get it, noob. I know, right. But my reason is that they are retrospectively enforcing a registration that was not present at the time I bought the game, and had that been the case, I wouldn't have bought it. Now, whether I'm registered to the PlayStation Network or not is irrelevant. For me, the primary concern here is that they've removed the ability of a bunch of people who had the game to play it, and that's not the point of internet games. The whole point of being on the internet is that we can all connect, and regardless of where we are, we can all enjoy the same stuff. Sony have robbed that from people. So yes, there's also the whole issue about registering and Sony getting our details and all that sort of stuff, and that too is part of this. But for me, there are people out there who put good money into this game, and now Sony have taken it away. Not even with the unless you register, they've just taken it off them in a very, very blind move. Now, the only way we can combat things like this as a community is vote with our feet. And what I would say is, if this bothers you, if this would absolutely hack you off, if you were one of the people who had this access to removed, if you still have access, what would you want to happen? And I feel like I don't now. I can't play this game in good conscience and give Sony the excuse to go, hey, look, it's fine, loads of people are still playing, who needs the other ones anyway? You don't treat consumers like this, and as a community, we have an opportunity to stand up and not just make a statement about Helldivers, but make a statement to the gaming industry in its entirety. If you do this to us, we will revolt, we will try and get our money back, and we will refuse to do anything that increases your sales and makes you look good. So it's entirely up to you, of course, and I would never hold it against anyone if they continue to do that. But if you only get hacked off if something directly affects you, that's fine, but then you don't get to make all these grand statements when things do go wrong and they do affect you, because you were quite happy with it when it didn't. I guess this is a bit of a call to action. Sony need to have it stuck to them, and if they reverse it, I'll get the game again. But right now, I'm not interested. I'm not playing this game. I really look forward to Helldiving with some of you in the future. But until then, Super Earth, farewell. It was fun.